time to hammer.
Oh, I gotta really try hard.
Shut it down!
Somehow it's the best.
After the credits.
A Yum Chunks podcast.
Yum Chunks!
Welcome all you kaiju listeners out there to another episode of After the Credits. I am your host, Sean, and tonight we're going to be talking about Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Right, Chris?
I don't know, you tell me. Sean, is he the king of the monsters?
I guess we'll figure that out in our discussion. And joining us in our discussion will be Ryan.
Yep, I will be.
Well, now that we've got that settled, we're all here. How's everyone doing?
Great. It's great to be back.
Fabulous.
Has anyone wrote down any epic tales or experiences they've experienced so that they could tell us a Chunkfire story?
Nothing epic. Definitely nothing epic. I did finish season 2 of The Patriot though, which I had been kind of slowly getting through because I wanted to savor it, so I savored it.
Nice.
Yeah, I just love that show so very, very much.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good. I hadn't realized you hadn't finished season 2 of it.
Yeah, I had started it like as soon as they released it, but I don't know. I like everyone, I always try to marathon things, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. So I paced myself. Yeah, so I wouldn't mind doing a podcast on that show because that is, I just love that show so much. But otherwise, I've been watching Person of Interest still, and I got to season 2, and this is back in the days when shows actually had like long seasons. So it's long to get through. And it got a second season, and man, it's getting a little rough. So I don't know if I can keep going. But
it's funny because it's a show. I think we talked about this. Maybe we talked about this last time, but it's on CBS, and in general, that kind of puts a giant, symbol over its head that I'm probably not going to watch it. But I do remember when the show was kind of going off the air a couple years ago, that there was like a bit of a, I don't know, cult is not the right word, but like a bit of a following beyond the normal CBS watchers. I don't know who those are. But...
I don't either. But from those who have watched it, they've told me to stick with it because it quote unquote gets better. I don't know if they said it gets good, but they said it gets better. So I guess that's what my life is going to be for a while. Well, anyway, that's that. But I have one little thing to share that I just wanted to share this little thing that boils my bacon. I was listening to the radio, and this is nothing novel or unique or anything, but I'm just I'm sick of songs that use the expression "I just wanna," and I just wanted to share that with you guys. That I hate that expression now. It's just such lazy songwriting. Like, really, that's all you want to do, huh? Nothing else. Nope. Okay, fine. You don't get to eat anymore. All you want to do is that thing that you just said. Terrible. And not that to say that all those songs are bad songs or whatever. Just that expression. I hate it. Anyway, that's I just wanted to share that grievance with y'all.
Well, a Chunkfire is a place of all, experiences, tales, or grievances. We'll air them all.
Oh, well, thank you.
What song in particular, or just there's so many of them that
there's many songs. Like, actually, the one that keeps popping into my head recently is actually a Beck song, which I like Beck just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to stay up all night with you, and it's it's a catchy pop song. Sure, it's great, but it's like it's one of hundreds, and it's the least offender, if that makes sense. Like. And now that I've told you guys, I think you're gonna hear it everywhere you.
I'm sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you're just like, oh my god, Ryan's right. Well, I don't know, maybe I'm not, but yeah.
I remember a couple years ago I was thinking of kind of the same thing. I guess maybe similar idea to the word tonight. Like, I think like 99% of all popular music has the word tonight in it somewhere, and it's just like.
Oh yeah,
I mean, again, not, like you're saying, not like everything is inherently bad with that word in it, but it just feels like late. Like
it's just lazy. It's just uninspired.
Let's tell stories about time outside of that tonight.
Oh my God, Sean, your favorite song ever does have it. I had to check.
I know.
Which song?
Single Ladies.
Oh.
Anyways. But so I think I get an idea of what you're going for.
What I'm going through, my struggles.
Although I just wanna actually, I think of the ones that come to mind are more classic. Like I just want to rock and roll all night and party every day.
Part of every day. I can't party all day. Just part of it.
And then, well, this is kind of girls just want to have fun. It's kind of different, but same idea.
I mean, you could shorten it to just wanna, right?
Yeah.
Rather than it doesn't matter who wants to, who just wants to, whoever's just wanting to. I am in disagreement with them.
They probably want to do more things.
I think they do.
But you want to know it from these songs.
Yeah, they need to spend time during the song expressing the other things they want to do. That's all.
Well, society, get on that. Get some better lyrics. Songs.
Ryan demands it.
Yep. Cool. Well, anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Chris, what about you? Are you ready for E3?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be. The question is, are you going to leave me hanging?
How would I leave you hanging?
By not going on Wednesday.
I'm going. I have to plan my schedule around you now?
Yes. When has that ever not been the case?
Every time. Literally the last 3 years I've gone to E3, I've gone the exact same days every year.
That's because you were also working it.
Well, regardless.
now you're just going to have me walking around all by myself. Like some
well, then go another day. Go one of the days.
I don't get a choice.
I don't get a choice either.
You definitely made it sound like you had a choice.
No, the day that they're given. So we're all the studio. We're going on Tuesday. That's our day, and then Wednesday I need to be in the office. We have I can't be out on Wednesday. So then I decided I'm going to go on Thursday.
Likely excuse.
And you guys can't get me in.
Not for free.
I mean, we can definitely get you in legal and methods. Actually, yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, I mean, there's passes, but boy, oh boy, they're
no. I mean, I think I could get you in regardless. At least the day that I'm not going, you could use my pass. Is what I'm saying.
Are we cutting this out?
I mean, if the E3 planner is listening to this,
they're all listening.
They'll track us down on the show floor, I suppose.
Dang it, my cover's blown.
All right, we can't.
Although, if anyone else is listening to this E3, come say hi to us. You might not know what we look like though, but
listen for our voices in the crowd.
We'll be there at E3.
No. So yeah, E3 is coming up. Let's see. I guess the big news is literally today, as of this recording, I got promoted at work.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
I am now an associate producer. So that's pretty nice.
Well, why don't you just buy Ryan a pass then? Now that you're a big shot with so much
You're
money.
a big shot.
I'm afraid only producers can do that. I'm only an associate. I
That's
need to level up.
Producer.
I need to level up and put that skill point into that tree before I can do that.
Dang.
I know. So
that's cool though. Congratulations. Did you know it was coming, or was it out of the blue?
I kind of knew it was coming. I mean, I guess they could have surprised me and not given it to me, but
you killed the other associate producer, so it only made sense.
Truly. So that was really nice, really exciting. That's my life now. What else? Oh, I've been watching this Netflix show called When They See Us.
I was going to bring that up too, actually, because I have also been watching it. But have you? Yeah.
I'm only halfway through it. It's only 4 episodes, but each episode's like hour 20 or something. Yeah, I mean, it's really good. And every episode makes me extremely angry. Which I'm sure very much is the goal of the show.
I'm pretty sure it is, and it succeeds on every level. It just makes me hate every aspect of society.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel.
What is it about? I mean, it sounds like I'm going to hate the show.
It's about, do you know the Central Park 5? I mean, it was when we were kids, or like
it was
in the 80s. Basically, it's yeah. It's about a bunch of kids, black kids in Central Park, New York, who were arrested and tried for assault and rape of this woman, and they were convicted, but they were innocent. They didn't do it, and it wasn't until years later that I haven't watched the last episode, which is the episode though I think they reveal kind of the break in the case or what kind of exonerates them. Anyways, though, it's the show is more just in general about the criminal justice system and just like how broken it is in so many ways. And so therefore it's a fictionalized, it's not a documentary. The show isn't a documentary or anything. It's directed by Ava DuVernay, and it has lots of people you'd recognize and stuff. But it's just like super aggravating and awful, and you just hate every aspect.
It's just there is no uncorrupt part of America anymore.
Yes.
Like
this was 30 years ago, so not even anymore.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. It's just like the justice system. I mean, we already kind of knew it, right? They hate black people. Like they indict these kids with literally no evidence, and
I mean, they didn't go at all into the jury deliberation, and I don't know how much, but it is kind of like I'm curious to know what sort of deliberation or discussion there was. And I mean, I guess they present the trial and they kind of indicate what things kind of convinced them. But I don't know, like things like that. It's just like what juror? I mean, obviously the show is presenting it in a certain light, so I guess it's not really fair to like. Oh, well, obviously, when they played the evil music when that lawyer talked. How did you guys vote? But you know what I mean? Like, it just felt like, who would convict? But yeah, it's really, really good, though. And I do think it is, like, worth watching, even though it's incredibly difficult to watch.
And if you weren't frustrated enough with, like, not to get too political, but if you weren't frustrated enough with, like, our president... Like they have actual footage from his response at that time to it, and it just makes you that much angrier.
Jeez.
Yeah. Which brings me to my solution to the criminal justice system. So here's how Sean will fix the criminal justice system. Okay, first of all, we don't have lawyers that represent that are trying to convict and or trying to get their defendant off, right? Like exonerate them or, get them not guilty verdict. Because those are conflicts of interest in the right. Like, why would a lawyer try to convict someone? Shouldn't they be finding the truth? Like, who cares if the person's guilty or not, if it's not the truth? Like there's this weird, we're so used to it that we don't think about it anymore. But why is the lawyer, like, I'm not saying the defendant shouldn't have a lawyer. The lawyer should be there to protect the defendant's rights. Because
it's all stats, right?
But the rights should not be associated with the pursuit and investigation of the criminal, whatever the crime was. So you could have someone there to represent the rights of the individual, the prosecuted or the accused, right? Someone to make sure whatever lawyer, the habeas corpus and blah, 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 right? That's fine. But the person that is investigating, that is trying to figure out if the person is guilty or not, should have no bearing on that person's rights, right? And likewise, on the prosecution side, the people who are trying to why are they trying to convict? Like, the pursuit of a conviction in of itself is corrupt. That's not justice. Like, it should be the pursuit of the truth first and foremost. But in our current system, like, if you're a lawyer who is prosecuting someone and that person didn't do it, it doesn't matter. You still win if you prosecute it. Like, right? You are still a good lawyer if you get that person convicted, even though you know that person.
Nobody's going to pay you to defend them if you don't get wins.
But that's what I'm saying. You remove the win-lose aspect of it. That's the whole broken part of it. Why is it a win-lose
because we
thing?
live
There's
in America
a singular
and
truth.
everything is a business.
Well,
There is-
sure, but I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, I guess actually I was going to say the same point as Chris. That it is kind of the justice system is kind of premised on a capitalist agenda where if the truth will rise above if both parties are pushing against each other, the truth will come out of it. I mean, I don't know if the lawyer is actually the person searching for the truth or if that's the police officers, but I think that's what it's premised on.
Yeah, but I mean that's obviously not the case. Like,
it sounds like you should play the Phoenix Wright games.
I have played the Phoenix Wright games, and they're great. And that's a better system than we got. I mean, keep the jurors, I suppose, that's fine. But also, instead of lawyers, you have 3, and I'm going to call them magistrates, because that's a cool name, and it makes it cool. Sound like... Shoot. And those 3 magistrates don't have, like, sides where one of them, like, one magistrate is trying to get the person convicted, and one magistrate is trying to... No, they're all 3 independent magistrates that are presenting evidence without any specific agenda. And they present the evidence to the jurors, and then the jurors decide from there. Like, that, like, there's no bias there. There's no agenda of we have to convict this person. No, that a want of a conviction on an individual is completely irrelevant towards the pursuit of truth.
No, I mean,
anyways,
I agree.
We fixed it. There we go. I'm sure there's people who are going to say, "Oh, it's more complicated than that, Sean." No, you're part of the problem.
Write us an email.
Yeah, write us an email and tell us how you fix the criminal justice system.
That being
well, that's why people turn into this podcast, I assume.
That being said,
this pop culture podcast about fixing the criminal justice system.
I have also they released the Phoenix Wright games as a trilogy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I got that on the Switch, and I've actually been playing them. So.
Well, if I would get that actually, but I haven't played some of the more later ones, and I wish that one came.
I didn't like some of the later ones. I don't know. I thought the overall arc of the originals, was great,
so
right? The way they all linked to each other in the end and everything, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah. It was intense.
Anyways, Chris, anything else?
I also got around to finishing off Kimmy Schmidt the last half of the season. I kind of went out with a whimper, I think.
Yeah, I was hoping for something a little stronger.
Probably best that thing ended. But
I still liked it. I could have seen more.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. I kind of wish they had brought John Hamm back kind of more for that finale, but his character, the Gary Wang, whatever crazy name he had.
Preacher Man?
Yeah, Preacher Man. Other than that, that's all I've been doing. What you doing, Sean?
Well, aside from When They See Us, I also watched this. It's kind of a special, I guess, on Netflix. The Bash Brothers, the Lonely Island Bash Brothers.
Oh yeah, I watched that too.
Oh yeah.
It was silly and ridiculous, but funny, I guess. I mean, it's Lonely Island, so it's if you like Lonely Island, then you'll probably like it. Most of the songs were okay. There's a few that were, I thought, pretty funny, but the rest of them were just kind of like, yeah, okay.
Have you seen the other specials they've done, like the Valentine's Day special they did?
No, I didn't know they did any.
I don't know if it's still on Netflix. I haven't looked for it in a while. But it was pretty. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but they got a bunch of guest stars, and the idea is that like Santa has a bunch of too many leftover gifts from Christmas, so they need to make a bunch of babies for next year. So they do this. What do you call it? A phone drive, where so they're having music guests telethon, to have people come in and do songs and whatever, and then to get people to like make babies. Anyway, it's pretty ridiculous, but it's kind of funny.
I'll have to find it. Yeah, I didn't know that. It was the first one I've seen. And it was just, I don't know, it's just the exact same kind of brand of humor. Like just kind of not really random, but just kind of like why full things. Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire from the 80s. I don't know, but it was good. Well, yeah, that's about it. That's pretty much all I've been up to, except for I have finally seen John Wick 3.
Oh,
About time.
Which I know you guys have seen, and we were potentially talking about doing an episode about John Wick 3, but at this point it's been a couple weeks, and we're not sure if it would be super relevant, but we still want to talk about a lot, so we're actually going to talk about John Wick 3 here for a bit. If you don't want to hear us talk about John Wick 3, then just go to the description down below and skip to the timestamp when we jump to King of Godzilla. But if you do want to hear us talk about John Wick 3, then get ready. Also, spoilers for John Wick 3. But yeah, John Wick 3. I loved it. I wish I had seen it earlier because that was fantastic. I mean, I like the whole series, but I like this one more than the second one for sure. I'm trying to think if I liked it more than the first. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I like the first one. I think the most story-wise. I think it worked. Well, it was intended to work well as a standalone, and so it's got a very clear beginning and end, right? Like where it can stand alone. 2 has like this big open ending, right? And 3 follows suit. That being said, I think obviously the choreography in 3 is the best that they've done, and they have like mind-boggling set pieces, and always just wondering how they hide the cameras during all of these like highly choreographed stunts in rooms of glass and mirror and like it's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, I loved it. I guess, I don't know, I'm trying to think of where I put them all like neck and neck. It's really, really hard for me to pick which one I think is the best, or my favorite.
Pick one.
I'm going to say that I still like the first one the best because it's just pure, it's quintessential. It has just the heart of what it is, without going too far or anything like that. And the second one, I think I liked the second one more after seeing the third one, because the second one I thought like, oh, they're doing this like really all this world building when I love the first one because of its simplicity. But now that I was like, oh, that's just the story they're going to end up telling, I'm on board now that I've seen the third one. Like this is just what I'm in for. So now looking at the second one, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm totally on board with the John Wick universe as opposed to just the one-off simple story. So yeah, and yeah, it was just a blast.
I mean, Chris, when you mentioned like kind of the choreography in this one was probably best. I agree. And also, like, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I thought it was kind of a cool, like, I don't know, call out. I don't know if homage isn't the right word, but like when he's in Times Square fairly early in the film, there's a shot in one of the big marquees of Buster Keaton, like a video playing of Buster Keaton. And like, to me, was clearly intentional, but just like, because that's what it reminded me of, all these set piece action scenes that were super crazy choreographed. And obviously they use stuntmen and stuff, but just the idea that it was almost like a Rube Goldberg type device as these things were happening and as they were playing out, just like the beauty of the dance that was going on. And I don't know, that's what reminded me of like those old silent Buster Keaton films. If anyone's ever seen those or familiar with those, how like just fun and crazy and just the pure spectacle of the physicalization of what's happening on screen is just so awesome.
I love how heavy-handed this movie is with its message, right? Like, and its reference, like you just mentioned, a dance, right? Like the movie is very just up in front references. It's like a ballet, right? Like the whole thing, the area he goes to is a ballet. And then, just the whole concept of, actions have consequences. They're just constantly just beating you over the head with that fact. And it's actually kind of refreshing that they are so upfront, because I was saying to coworkers at the time, I honestly think these are the movies that we need right now, because I feel like as a culture, in real life, we've kind of forgotten that actions should always have consequences, and we let people get away with things that they shouldn't, and so on and so forth. And it's refreshing. It's crazy to think that Keanu Reeves has been like the key action figure going into like new decades multiple times now. Like obviously The Matrix, going into the 2000s, and now John Wick going into the 2020s.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It is kind of curious. I've thought about this, like, especially with the first one, because like we all said, we love the first one, but the first one for sure is the most bare bones, stripped of kind of like this world that they built around it, which by the way I love. Like the film, like the world of John Wick is its own world now, whereas in the first one you could kind of conceive it taking place somewhat in our own normal reality, if a bit unique, but now it's like full on unapologetic. Like this is almost like a fantasy. It reminds like slightly, I don't know, sci-fi, like not quite to those extremes, but it's definitely in another world. This is not our world, even if it may be in certain cities that are the same and stuff. But in the original, it wasn't that. And I don't know, why do you guys think that like the John Wick series over some of these others has really caught on or kind of risen above those others? Things like what I'm thinking of are like Jack Reacher or The Equalizer, or I don't know, there's other films where it's just like lone gunmen on a crazy action killing spree.
I think if I had to take a guess, once again going back to actions have consequences being the very core of everything John Wick, right? Like, even the director has gone out and said, he's like, listen, John Wick will never have a happy ending. He kills so many people. Not only does he not deserve a happy ending, but there's just no way he would ever have a happy ending. I think that level of reality to it is what draws people to it. It's kind of, like I said, it's refreshing. It feels.
Yeah, I mean, well, you say reality, and I understand what you mean, reality in terms of its thematic, but I do think like the movie itself is a heightened reality.
Oh yeah,
kind of what I was talking, like, or a hyper reality. It's not necessarily real, but one, they completely are, they never balk at it. They are play it completely seriously, and even though it's wry and that there's a certain level of awareness, they never play it for laughs in terms of like making fun of themselves or anything. Like everything is so pristine and just like, this is the world, and if you don't like it, you don't have to buy into it, but this is what it's going to be. And I think there's a certain, like, I don't know, appeal to it in that regard too, where they're just so 100% in this reality. And also kind of going on this like weird like nether or alternate existence. And I think I talked about this after we saw John Wick 2 just with you guys.
Yeah, I know she can talk about it.
And this one, in more than even the second one, how much it's like, and it is completely intentional how no one cares.
Yeah.
Like all of the extras, all of the people in the background, this is just part of their world. Like they don't even blink at what's going on. People are getting murdered in crowded subway stations, like, and no one, they just keep going around. The only time is one time when they're in Casablanca, I think. There were some gunshots that rang out and people ran from the gunshots. But other than that, like one shot, everywhere else in the movie, like the world of the movie, or like the people that exist in the world are just like go about their business as if this is all just completely normal.
Well, in the second one, they're Wick and Common are having this little gun duel with silenced pistols on the subway. So you can excuse it as like, oh, they're silenced guns and the crowd isn't noticing it. But in this one, they remove whatever possible excuse you can come up with, where someone literally gets murdered in the train station, and everyone's like doop 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 doop, and there's just a duck line of people between, like and so it is. Yeah, I was particularly conscious of that in John Wick 3, where whatever message they're trying to send with people being either oblivious or it's, like you said, Sean, it's just part of their world. Yeah.
So I had an idea about that.
What is it?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you though.
That was kind of the end of my thoughts.
Well, yeah, I mean, whether it's oblivious or whatever. But so one thing that by the end of it, don't know if it's intentional or not, but I got the sense that like it's almost like this whole world of assassins of John Wick and the what's the hotel's name?
The
Concierge, whatever.
Continental,
okay.
And just everyone involved in all of this. Like I said, it's just taking place in this world, and everyone just is kind of like, yeah, okay, there's those guys. It's like they're children. And that's the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, I think they're like saying that all these assassins and everything are just like children. It's just like when you see children playing, you're like, oh yeah, they're just kids playing around. And if you think about some of the specifics in terms of how the fight scenes play out and some of the scenes, like it made me think even more so. Like there's a scene when the sushi chef assassin is chasing him. And he's about to kill him, and then he touches base. He's like, "No, I'm on base. You can't kill me. I'm touching base." Like it is totally like kids. And then at the final fight scene, when like the two other guys, when he beats them up, and they're like, "We're just gonna play dead," or he beat us. And then when the final guy, he's like, "That was a good fight, right?" Like these are just children. These are all just kids. Like, and the world is just like. Yeah, all right. We let these kids play. They think they're big and like and they're just having fun.
It's like an R-rated. The last movie is going to reveal it to be like an R-rated Lego movie in that meta sense. So they're just going to be like at the park and the little playground.
It's like a bunch of kids just like with finger guns pointing at each other and go. That's what's happening in this whole film, and it's hysterical. Like if I think about it in that light, it's just funny to think of like all these people like running in the middle of the street and just like when they're on the motorcycles, I'm just thinking they're like on bicycles. And I love it. I don't know if that's necessarily purely intended in that looking at it that way, but for me, I think it's great. Like, I think it adds kind of an extra layer to what I think is deceptively a simple, surface level action film, and it does that beautifully. So it can just exist as that. But I don't know. There's like elements to it that are surprising. Like I don't know if it's intended, but I love it. I'll take it like that. Any other thoughts on John Wick 3?
I think it's probably for me it's the funniest John Wick. I think they kind of just double down on some of the ridiculousness, and it works. Like that scene where he spends like 15 minutes rebuilding a gun just to shoot one bullet. Like I was laughing so freaking hard, and that leads right into the next scene where they have the knife fight, and they're throwing like 5,000 knives at each other. I was laughing so hard at that scene. That was so funny.
I was gonna ask, do you guys have a favorite like set piece scene or action scene? The knife fight might be my favorite. I don't know.
I think from this, that the epic or the final battle in this one, I was hoping was going to be a little. It wasn't as big of a hitter as I was hoping, because they kind of already used the kind of like the glass room in the last one. So and I don't know. And then and I thought it was also funny how John just kept getting smashed into 5,000 glass.
That whole thing. That was clearly intentional as it played for jokes. It
had to be like, and so that's what I mean. They really hammed it up with those kind of joke. Physical comedy, I guess you could call it. But yeah, I think that knife scene was my favorite, just because they're just in this weird hallway with just surrounded by random weapons, and they're just going to town.
I love it first too, where they're like not even first, but like partial way through, they're just throwing in. They're not always even like sticking. They're just like hitting with the butt of the knife sometimes, because they're just so like wild and just like they're not always like super precise assassin throws. There's like you're just hitting me with the flat edge of the knife.
And like this in other stuff where they John has a reputation for getting his kill with weird, like they play up that pencil joke, right? And that's probably the best payoff. They can't have a better payoff for a joke / kill than setting it up all in the first one and then getting the payoff in the second one, right? But he kills a guy with a book, right? That's the first one, and that was pretty great. And then he kills a bunch of guys with horses, like, like they like. it would just be so much fun to like, okay, what else could we have him do? What are some
Yeah.
fun ways we can have him kill dudes? So that was just a lot of fun.
I think my favorite one was the Halle Berry dog one, though. I thought it was crazy how they were able to control both those dogs individually with like that type of choreography.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's super impressive. Like, I was thinking, like, as on reflection, I was like, yeah, that probably was the most impressive just for what it was. I don't know if it was my favorite, but yeah, I would agree that it was probably the most impressively choreographed just as a whole.
And then to Ryan's point, right, another scene where they played it up for last was when they just stuck on the dog, just like not letting go of that one dead guy. He was just trying to tear his arm off, just like shaking and shaking, and they just stuck on it for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
What about you, Sean?
Well, I was going to say, I think the knife scene was probably my favorite. I'm trying to think. I did like the motorcycle scene where they're fighting with swords on motorcycles. Like, that was also just like, again, it's just like, you're just like, okay, what can we do that's just like ridiculous and hilarious and also awesome?
Right.
Motorcycles, swords.
I mean, like during that motorcycle scene, that freaking long shot, if you want to call it that, but like that really shot where right off the bat where it doesn't cut and it's just him centered on him and he's dodging people on one side while killing people on the other side, and it never cuts and it's just kind of swaying, like it was ridiculous.
But yeah, I mean, it's still in theaters and I think it did really well too. Like they announced the fourth one like days later. Yeah, it was the film that brought down quote unquote, but finally beat Endgame, I think, right?
I don't know, actually.
I think so.
I mean, it sounds right. The timing's right.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what else was really nuts? I really loved when he was defending the Continental at the end, and everybody had armor, just like that extra visceral effect of him having to hit the same spot multiple times repeatedly, like just to get people to flinch. Right? He obviously wasn't killing them, but like just getting them to flinch and everything. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that whole sequence was nuts because he's like, "Oh, this is a new problem. How do I solve this problem? All right, I'm just gonna slip my gun underneath their like neck thing there."
Like the underwater scene, right?
Yeah,
that was so cool, and you got to see it basically in slow motion.
And two, just like it took an entire clip or whatever to like bring down one guy because he's constantly just having to like delay them, like
just stun them and then
like a video game or something. Like, okay, I got crowd control, like I gotta take these guys out so that like prioritize. All right, stun, kill, stun, kill.
So I mean, here's a question I was talking to people at work about. So I think they do a good job of making us kind of like the concierge guy, right? Like the
Ian McShane.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait.
The guy at the front door, the concierge.
Oh. I don't know his name, but I know he's.
Yeah, that guy. They do a good job of making us like him, right? Like he's just an enjoyable person overall. But obviously, the end of this movie indicates that John is very much going to be seeking revenge against the Continental as a whole, right? Like. Obviously, that did him wrong.
I did have a thought about that. I don't know. I was kind of unsure what that ending implied. Do you think that Ian McShane knew that he wasn't going to die?
Yes.
No, I don't think it does.
But I don't know how he could have realistically thought that.
I don't think he does. I think he was just like, it is what. Once he heard it, he was like, in his mind, he's like, it's freaking John Wick. Well, it is what it is. If he comes for me, he comes for me. I'm not going to just let him kill me, but he's John Wick. That's how I took it, right? And to me, that's more interesting because at that point, also, I started thinking like, what side would the concierge lean toward at the end? Because he also seems to like John a lot, but at the same time, it's his boss, and he seems to enjoy him as well. I don't know.
I got the impression that Ian McShane knew or thought John Wick would survive. Like when she comes back from checking around the corner to see if John's still there, she's like, John's not there. There's no look of surprise on his face. He's just like
Well, it's
yeah.
because he's John Wick.
Exactly.
But he can't expect John. Like, it's one of those things where regardless of what he thinks, that can't be what John thinks. John has to view that as just a complete betrayal. He has to be upset, right? Because he was just shot off of a roof and bounced off of other buildings on his way down to the ground, where he probably would have died had that awesome comedian guy that was playing a homeless person not found him and brought him back to Lawrence Fishburne. So I very much think that he will be seeking revenge against Ian McShane's character.
Okay, perhaps. What did you guys?
I mean, I don't know.
I think they left it open enough that they can go either direction.
Yeah.
What do you guys like the Matrix references?
Which ones?
I
noticed, didn't he like wave his fingers up at one point? Like, get up?
Well, then he flips him off. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I don't know. I don't think I got that one.
I mean,
the one or at least one of the ones I'm thinking about
the
is
guns.
Yeah, you're like, we need guns, lots of guns.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that. Yeah.
That was just I think there was another one too, but that's the one I'm thinking about right now. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that whole hotel lobby scene kind of reminded me a little bit in general. Just because it was whatever the lobby scene in the first Matrix was.
Yeah.
Kind of similar.
I just love how casual it was as they were going back for more ammo. Just like entering the locked room, just like not saying anything, just loading up more and going back out. That world is awesome. That universe is awesome.
It very much is the sense. Like, I don't like. Who are these people even killing? Like, have we ever seen them kill anyone other than each other? Like all these rival gangs and stuff. Like, that's what I mean. It's just like, everyone's like, they're not hurting anyone. I mean, other than themselves. But that's whatever they want to do.
So I also assume that he's going to have. Obviously, they're going to go for the high table, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to go back specifically for his ring? I wonder. With the elder,
maybe.
Oh yeah.
Even high table. See, like the adult table and the kids table. I'm just saying. Yeah, I guess that's true. He'd probably get his ring back and his finger. He doesn't need that finger.
He has 12 hours to get it reattached, so I think he's good.
Yeah, it's probably fast. I just wanted to see him like on a plane, like. John Wick having to like, I gotta sit on this plane for 10 hours.
But I love how dogmatic they are with their own rules, right? Like when he first gets to Constantinople, right?
No, Casablanca.
Casablanca, sorry. When he first gets there, and that group of assassins, the one guy almost tries to break the rule, right? That the head guy said. He's like, no, he's protected, right? And the guy tried to break the rule, and so he was just shot dead on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that is what makes this universe so interesting, is because when people do things that, break the rules, there will be punishment. I don't know. I think that's what I find most interesting about these movies.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think to some extent, even the kind of the significance of dogs, maybe animals in general, but dogs in this, because that's kind of what right? Dogs have to obey their master. Like, it's about obedience, right? So I think that even kind of plays into that theme pretty well. So yeah, I think you're right. There's definitely that. I think that, like you're saying, kind of separates it maybe from other films or franchises that wanted to kind of have aspirations on the same level. But
and then also just, I think, the last comparison I have really is, so you're asking like what makes this stand out against like the Takens and the Equalizers, right?
Yeah.
I think the other half of it is literally just the choreography, right? I think it's I think Honest Trailers even pointed this out, right? When they have so much more respect for the action that they're planning and doing, that they don't do a lot of cuts, and right, like I think the Honest Trailer showed like Taken how many cuts it took to get Liam Neeson over a fence even. And in this one, they have these very intricate dances, once again bringing it back to ballet, with each other, and they don't have that many cuts. These are very clearly people doing these things, so I think that also makes it stand out from the rest of the bunch.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe just real broadly speaking, it feels like it has an identity. It has a unique identity.
Yeah.
And all of the things we talked about contribute to that. The choreography, the thematic stuff, the world. I think even like the color palette, like it's so so identifiable, right? Just this glossy jet black with like hues of neon purple and, cobalt steel kind of stuff, right? Like that's an identifiable look to this whole franchise. That like it makes it feel kind of fantasy or even cyberpunk at times, like not necessarily any of the content, but just kind of the look of it sometimes.
Also, just like as you watch these movies, right, every scene is like you're learning at the same time. You're learning a lot about the world, a lot of world building going on, using when he goes to the ballet school, right? Just everything is played like you would already know what's going on, but he gets up to the top and he's like, I have my ticket, right? And then as they're talking, you're watching this all unfold, and you're just learning another rule or whatever happening in this universe. And so it's so much more interesting because, right, like the ticket, then you get...
there's no expository dump early on. It's like, I have this ticket that will get me, and it's like, no, you are able to kind of learn the exposition as the action is going on.
Yeah.
And you're right. That's just way more interesting storytelling in any form. So,
all right, how much more can we gush about this?
Yeah, I don't know. We love John Wick. John Wick 3 is great. Yeah. But I guess we should move on to actual Godzilla, which is theoretically what we're supposed to be talking about in this episode. So before we get into Godzilla, spoiler warning.
More spoilers.
More spoilers for Godzilla King of the Monsters. And before we get into our general discussion, Ryan, what happened in Godzilla King of the Monsters?
Oh, well, so Godzilla King of the Monsters is a movie about scientists talking about monsters for a really long time, and then eventually we get to see some monsters. That's my one sentence synopsis. But if we're gonna break it down, as you may recall from the last Godzilla film, which was just a masterpiece of cinema making, Godzilla beat a bad monster, and now he's back in hiding. He went back to his home. So since that time, scientists have been doing a lot of talking about monsters, and we're going to hear all of it. And turns out there's a bunch of titans sitting around the Earth. Some are good, some are bad. And we're going to give them a BuzzFeed quiz to find out which is which. So then some eco-terrorists led by Tywin Lannister, bust in and start unleashing the monsters. Oh no. They do so with the help of a Sega Saturn, provided by our quote-unquote main characters, Vera Farmiga. There you go. And Eleven from Stranger Things. So they start unleashing all the monsters, but they also unleash another super duper monster, the three-headed Ghidorah.
It's the boss from Zelda.
Yes.
They unleashed the boss.
King Ghidorah.
There you go. That's right. And it turns out is actually a space alien. What? And he tells all the other monsters to kill everything, which was ultimately the plan in the first place. So it turns out Vera's character was actually a traitor, which everyone saw coming. But then for some reason, even though her plan's going perfectly to plan, she decides that she doesn't like it. And then we try to stop the monsters from being bad monsters. And then Godzilla beats Ghidorah at the end.
Good summary. That Zelda monster boss was Gleeok, by the way. That's the multi-headed dragon monster in Zelda. But yes, that's what happened in.
I don't want to get too into this right now, but I disagree with a lot of what you just said, right?
No, there's nothing to disagree with. Disagree with. It's a summary.
I disagree with your summary. Good day, sir.
Yes. Well, that all happened. Oh, by the way, we'll get into discussion, but Vera Farmiga is also in that movie that show When They See Us.
Oh.
Yeah, her curly hair in that freaks me out.
Anyways, but I don't know which character I hate more, her in Godzilla or in When They See Us.
Oh no.
They're like, she's a good actress. I like her.
She is good.
I like her in general, but these characters are
they're pretty bad.
awful.
They're pretty bad.
Anyways, so I think we all know what Ryan's opinion of this film was. It was very glowing. I don't know if you're gonna like it as much as Ryan, Chris. And I also am probably. I didn't hate this film. It's not hate-worthy, and I did like lots of it. But overall, it was more to me than anything. It was just like, okay, that was a movie. I don't know. Like, well, yeah, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I don't have strong feelings either way about this film. Chris?
I have very strong feelings about this one. I walked out of that movie just so pumped. I thought this movie was awesome.
Oh,
right.
Does it have flaws? Yes. It's not. I'm not saying it's like a Oscar-worthy film, but for being a Godzilla film, so a kaiju, silly, stupid monster fight movie, I thought it was awesome. I got everything out of it that I could have asked for.
okay, fair. But I think the problem there is that Skull Island exists. If Skull Island didn't exist, maybe I would be okay with that. But that movie showed that a good monster film can be made.
I would slightly disagree. I'm not saying Skull Island is a bad movie either. I just did not get what I wanted out of that film.
Well, okay, let's say this. So, Chris, you loved this film, and there's probably lots of things you liked about it, or specific things, aspects, whatever. I will say that, so for me, I'll kind of broadly things that I enjoyed about this film.
All right. Lay it on me. Do it, Sean.
I mean, basically, just I like the monsters fighting. I can't even say I love it, but I did enjoy it. Just like on a purely just what I'm seeing on screen, crazy monsters fighting. Yeah, I enjoyed the crazy action. Like, it was fun when all four of them were fighting. When Rodan comes and there's lightning. Oh my gosh! I almost forgot a gigantic aspect of my viewing experience that I almost forgot to mention. So I went to see this film and I saw it in one of those 4D theaters. Have you guys ever been to one of those?
I have not.
No.
Where I've never been in one, and so I went to go take ticket, and that was a Showtime playing. So they're like, just so you know, this is a 4D experience. I'm like, I don't care. Yeah, just give me a ticket. And I thought, okay, what's this gonna be? The seats are gonna shake or something a little bit here. Oh my god, it's like sitting in Star Tours for 2.5 hours. It was ridiculous.
Well, I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
So at the beginning, I hated it. I was like, stop moving. Like, I had a drink in the cup holder, and it was like sloshing around and stuff. And it was really, really distracting. Like, it was so much so that I could not enjoy the film for the first for a while. Like, not that it wasn't so bad I was gonna leave, but it was just like, I don't know how anyone watches movies like this and enjoys it. Like, the seats, it's not full on Star Tours or whatever, Guardians of the Galaxy ride or something like that. But it moves a lot. It moves way more than I would have thought for a movie theater. But then also it does a lot of other things. So they pump in fog and especially some of the scenes when they're when Ken Watanabe's in the crater or some of the like ruins of the world and they're just like burning smoldering ashes, they pump in like fog and a sulfur smell, so it like smells like that. And then they have massive fans, so when there's like when they're flying through the air, there's like wind gusting by you. And then like in the backs of the seats there's little like air shooters like by your neck, so like when Mothra was shooting her the web whatever spit, it would do the little web, or anytime anyone was shooting guns, there would be like little in the back of your neck. And then like there would be like a massage chair, like giant like big balls in the back of the chair or something that would like kind of like punch you, not hurting, but like hit you in your back as like whatever the monsters were fighting, or I don't know, whatever.
Sean, you just described a nightmare. That sounds horrible.
No, that's what it was. Like for the first half of the film, I'm like, this is like some like just overload of sensory nightmare. We're just like, and the thing too is, I'm positive there's no one on the actual film crew had anything to do with these 40 things. So I'm sure it's just like some lab technician who creates like these things in like, all right, now I'm gonna make this. The seats do this, and then we're going to do this. Like, it's not like the director is deciding these things because the film isn't shot in first person. So that's the other thing. As these things are happening to you, it's like, am I supposed to be Kyle Chandler right now? Or who? Like, what is my point of view? Anyways, but then by the end of the film, I was so used to it that I actually think I liked it by the end. It was so weird because
Sean, I think
it
this
at the
gave you brain damage. I think is really what happened.
Like, I guess it's more like Honey, I Shrunk the Audience or Bug's Life, if anyone's been to those shows while they were still up, because they no longer are. More than Star Tours. But yeah, it was just like, it was surprising. Or just like, even when Ghidorah would do the giant electric attack, and just like, there was a couple shots where it's just pretty much right at the camera, right? In the theater, there were additional like bright strobe lights that were off screen. So, like, anytime that would happen on screen, those strobe lights would just, like, flash the entire theater, too. So it would really just, like, white you out.
And your seat would shock you?
And she would shock you. Uh-huh. And then, it'd set you on fire whenever Rodan came.
Awesome.
So, anyways, that was so... I'm just saying that now because my experience... That was part of my experience of this movie. And I don't know necessarily how much it contributes to me liking or disliking. Like I said, I honestly don't have strong feelings either way, which is weird because I hated and then liked that aspect of it. I would say if anyone is curious to check it out, but it is definitely not for everyone. Because, I think, although it would be fun to go watch like a drama and see if they have it in 40, Like, I was joking with some friends, like, they should, like, have Call Me By Your Name in 40. Anyways, or a movie like that. Regardless, so by the end, though, all of those things did add to it, and maybe that's why I like the action sequences more, because it felt like all of those elements I had gotten used to by that point, so it was kind of adding to the experience, and it was fun. So I liked all the action. Sorry, that was all just part of me saying what I liked about the film. I'm just going to say the giant monsters fighting. I like monsters fighting.
Well, who doesn't?
Yeah. So anyways, Ryan, did you have anything that you liked about this?
Yeah,
movie?
well, I mean, I think every ticket purchased here was to see monsters fighting. That's the only reason people purchased a ticket to see Godzilla, was to see monsters fighting. And we got that. And everyone should be walking away happy. And
they delivered on that aspect, I think.
Yeah, they did. But everything else.
I mean, I think part of it was a response to the 2014 Godzilla, because there was so much criticism. Like, even though that film reviewed really well, better than this film, I wasn't the biggest fan. But one of the criticisms or at least audience criticisms, was that there wasn't enough Godzilla, or they would cut away and they didn't show enough of the action. And in this one, there's a lot of action. They didn't really cut away from anything. They showed all the action. Yeah. So good for them on that, because
definitely
the big climax battle was great. The scene where Rodan shows up and they're fighting over the ocean, that whole action sequence was cool.
In fact, I would say that's my favorite action sequence because, they had a lot of good shots in the film too. I think they did a good job of of just like framing, and cinematography was really fantastic, and just playing with the visual elements. And when Rodan shows up to fight three-headed dude, Hydra Man. There's just
yeah.
this shot of them in midair colliding that was really really cool looking. So they did a great job with some of the visuals in the film.
Yeah, I agree. And then even the first instance of Ghidorah when he rakes out in Antarctica, that whole sequence was fun, even though I guess Godzilla did show up. Yeah, so yeah, that whole action sequence and crazy giant monsters. And those are the first like couple of times you see Ghidorah, the silhouetted with the like you're saying, just like the iconic, shots.
Yeah,
were pretty impressive and stuff.
yeah, they did a pretty good job with the monsters overall. I mean, Ghidorah's neck changes length every time he's shown on camera, but that's kind of nitpicky. So
special powers.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, what about you now? Lay it on us. What did you like about this movie?
I mean, everything that you guys said. There's really, when I texted you after I watched it while I was super pumped.
Yeah.
It's exactly those things that I said, right? I said it was probably one of the most visually impressive movies I've seen in a while. I don't know if you guys agree with that that degree, but I'd stand by that. I think just the color scheme, I think, really also stood out. Like, visually, I thought it had a very unique color scheme, especially with like Ghidorah and his yellow lightning bolts and everything. It reminded me a lot of how the first Guardians of the Galaxies visually popped on screen, right? I thought it was the color choices were very vibrant and unique. It made everything feel very lively, which you don't get as much of with things like, let's say, like the DC movies or even like Avengers, right? The kind of grounded color schemes and everything like that. This one was just way out there, very, very pretty to look at, very easy on the eyes.
I think there's a certain element too that's even just like basic good filmmaking. It reminds me of like Star Wars. Like, we know who the good guys are and bad guys are based on the lasers that they're firing or the colors of their swords, right? And the same, like, we know Godzilla shoots blue magic, space fire, and Ghidorah shoots yellow, and Rodan shoots red. Like, it helps us, visually identify what's going on. But you're right. I think that helps the kind of the poppiness of it all too.
I like the creature designs. I thought they did a good job visually with the creatures. They had a crazy amount of digital artists on this movie. Mothra looked really cool. I liked the emergence of that. One thing, there are a ton of Easter eggs in this movie, and I don't know a lot about like old Godzilla at all. But I was reading about these Easter eggs, and a lot of them, like when I was watching the movie, do either of you know about like Mothra and Mothra's kind of background, the original background, and how it's like linked to these like twins?
Nope.
Okay. I that was literally the length that I knew about it. I don't know what the twins did per se or anything like that. I just knew that there was something about twins linked to Mothra. So in the movie, when they hint at that and then they show it, but they don't make a big deal out of it, I thought that was like a really cool call out.
Oh, that's right, because she was the Chinese scientist was a twin, right?
Yeah, and then it shows like the photo of all their relatives, and they were all twins, right?
Oh,
like
that's cool. But I had no idea that was part of Mothra's backstory. But that's cool.
Yeah, and they had like a bunch of stuff like that just kind of peppered throughout the movie, to where it didn't play too heavily, but it was just cool call outs overall. So I really enjoyed that. I definitely understand once again why people find the human stuff boring, because it's kind of just a tool to get you from one monster fight to the next. It doesn't really have too much bearing on anything going on. And a lot of times they outthink themselves while doing it. But I did like, and I'm sure there'll be some disagreement to this, I did like that they didn't try to carry like that betrayal from Vera's character all the way to the end. I like that pretty early on, like maybe of a third or a quarter or so through the movie, they just are like, yeah, she's evil, right? Like, I like that they didn't try to like carry that too far into the movie. And then it just kind of went straight forward from there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess let me ask you, what do you think at the end of the film? Do you think the audience is supposed to like think she's a good guy?
No, I think it's the way I viewed it was just supposed to be like, you reap what you sow.
Because I mean, the movie ends pretty good for her.
I mean, she dies.
I mean, she like redeems her, or not redeems, but saves her daughter.
I mean, yeah. Is that a good or a bad thing?
To me, I think the audience is going to perceive, or at least I thought, the movie was saying, "Oh, she's a good guy. She saves her daughter. She's good. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter too much, but."
Well, I don't think it's supposed to say like she's good now. I think it's just supposed to be like, okay, because her whole character arc, right, is about grief and grieving and how she was terrible at it. I think it was just supposed to be that she finally kind of got over it because she realized what was really important and then died. There you go.
I mean,
there you go. That's the way I took the stupid human plot of the movie.
All right.
It was all about grief.
Yeah. I mean, I think they were going for like she was a misguided character. I don't know if it.
But I mean, Kyle
worked,
Chandler's
I
character is misguided too, right? But he comes back. His whole thing is he kind of gets over it.
Well, I mean, I guess
early.
Misguided's not maybe the strong enough word because I don't think Kyle Chandler's misguided in the same sense. I think he's a flawed character. Every character should have a flaw. So I think that he has a flaw clearly. Whatever. I don't know what it is. He's not willing to accept what happened either. I guess they're both kind of dealing with grief.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But I'm saying that sure, her flaw is different than like her flaw of not being able to settle grief is I think different than her being like than her misguidedness. Like to me, the misguided aspect of her is I think a different thing. I think I'm trying to think of another character. Like she reminds me of like I don't know. I can't think
Jafar.
of a good one. Who?
Jafar.
No, not Jafar. Like I don't know. Like any. What's another? Like,
are you trying to say to someone a character who is trying to do the right thing, but
yes,
but in the worst of ways,
in the worst possible way, yes,
through terrorism and murder.
Only at the end do they realize, I was wrong.
But I don't know.
That's an archetype. That's
it is a thing.
Type of villain
it's a thing.
Character.
But I don't think she ever admits that she's wrong, which is why I don't think she's ever supposed to be viewed as good at the end.
Well, I guess
right?
that's.
I think that's what Ryan's kind of getting.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at. Because at some point she changes her mind, and why?
I mean, she doesn't change her mind. Her daughter steals her tool. And then she's like, I need to save my daughter. And that was the end of it, right? That was like, she's like, I'm saving my daughter. And then so she's like, to save my daughter, I need to drive this thing off and be the guinea pig.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, they kind of like, I don't know, they hint or they kind of, it seems like she's like, has misgivings. Not, it seems, she does have misgivings for a while. But ultimately they don't seem, it's irrelevant because, like you were just saying, that's not what motivates her to save her daughter. To do anything. It's saving her daughter that motivates her to do anything. Like,
right, which is why I'm not defending the human plot of this movie.
No, I don't even think you are. I don't think you are.
Okay.
I don't think we think you are. I'm just saying. I think to me, I think this is what you're getting at, Ryan. Is that like this contributes to why, like. You're not emotionally attached to, other than Kyle Chandler, who's a pretty good everyman.
Yeah.
Even if his story's boring, he does a decent job.
He's okay.
But with Vera Farmiga, I just hate her. Like,
yeah, I'm trying
awful.
to get attached. Even like 11, like whatever. Sorry, I don't know her name, but I'm trying to get attached to some characters, and it's like I'm not. It's just there's nothing there to get attached to. I guess the comic relief, I forget that guy's name, but he's pretty good. He was in West Wing. That guy was.
Yeah, Bradley. I was going to say Bradley Whitford. Yeah. I actually kind of enjoyed.
Yeah, I enjoyed him.
This, I think this is a friend said this to me, so I'm not going to take credit. But he was saying that there's just too many human characters.
Well, yeah.
And none of them die.
Yeah.
There's way too many. Like, why do we need 5 scientists all doing, like, they each have to have a line in all these scenes?
Well, that's what I was saying in my one sentence summary of this movie. Scientists spending a lot of time talking about monsters. That's 90% of this movie is just scientists talking about monsters. I don't care. Get them off camera. Why are there 5,000 scientists? Get them out of here.
I mean, I don't mind that there's some of them there. I mean, that's kind of part of the.
Sure,
but, like, we don't need 4 different scientists all doing the
these
same
monsters do not speak English. So, like, this argument works really well in the Transformer universe, where the Autobots speak English and everything, and you can understand them, and therefore there's no reason to even have a single human, because all of them can convey their feelings very straightforward for anybody.
That's also true.
But, like, in this case, these are just monsters that are roaring and fighting one another, and that's their sole purpose of existence and everything. Like, there has to be some humans to drive it.
No, that's fine.
I mean, I'm glad you brought up Transformers, Chris, because that's exactly what I think of. Like, and I'm not a big. I guess I'll say I, in general, like these more than the Transformers films, because I do not like the Transformers films. But that's what it reminds me of. That in so many ways, it reminds me of the Transformers films. But it's not so much that I'm like, I don't think we're saying no humans in this movie. Like that, like going back to Kong Skull Island, like there's lots of humans in that movie. A lot of them die though, and that makes you like, you get the stakes. I guess also kind of going on this idea that like there's so many scientists, and that one girl dies. She's the only one that dies. Yeah. When Ghidorah falls in the ice.
Ken Watanabe dies.
Well, that's true, I suppose. Yeah. Although he kind of dies by himself and becomes, I think his spirit becomes part of Godzilla, like he's always wanted. But like there's all these other, like they have Bradley Whitford and the Silicon Valley guy and the Chinese scientist and I don't know whoever other and Ken Watanabe. And then they have all the army people who I don't like.
Why are they in the movie? That's my biggest. And why do they keep going back to them?
They kept going back to him, and so this whole time it's just like, okay.
Some of those army people died at the very end. Remember when they landed to save the daughter, and as soon as they stepped off of the plane, they just got lit up by Ghidorah's.
Well, the unnamed ones, the face like Ice Cube's son didn't Ice Cube die or was it Ice Cube?
And no, it's Ice Cube's son.
Okay, yeah.
O'Shea Jackson Jr.
But so I guess that's another kind of issue, and I don't know if I could fault this film per se, because I guess all big disaster movies kind of do to an extent, but like we spent so much time of just like these 10, 12 characters, they all survived, but it's hard for me to get excited when you're literally showing like cities, like all of Boston is dead. I don't care about Army Guy number 5.
And they deserved it.
Well, so like it kind of brought it to like, I think there's a little bit of a conflict of not tone, but so like if the old Godzilla movies or the Power Ranger movies, like when the monsters are fighting, it's not comical, but it's clearly fake. Like there's no stakes. Like we don't care because we know no one's dying when they're fighting in Tokyo. Like they're destroying buildings and it's a guy in a costume, and it's so far removed from our sense of like reality that like, yeah, okay, we don't care. We get that they're supposed to be destroying things just on an abstract level. But this, it's so realistic, or at least, the effects, and they paint this picture of like these things are destroying the earth. Like, I can't like get behind as much when they're like these monsters fighting and they destroy a building. Like, oh, well, I guess 5,000 people just died. But cool punch there, Godzilla. You did it. Like, so like, there's that aspect too. Like I was saying, how I do like the action. Don't get me wrong. It's visually fun and all that stuff. But there's always an element where it's like, I don't know if I could like, it's not the same type of fun. No, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, that's
And just the Rodan one did not have so much collateral damage, right? The Rodan one.
Well, then they show like they make a point like, hey, we got these guys, these refugees. We got like 50 guys on this plane. Like, great. You save 50 people, and there's just 5 million people dead you left behind. You guys are...
Man, some of these people are like the dumbest people ever, right? Like, it takes Kyle Chandler to think, oh, if I just drop this freaking helicopter through the door, I can save all these people. And the one guy's like, no, not the helicopter. Like, what?
I know there's just a lot of, I think, accumulation of a lot of dumb scenes like that for me, where I'm just like, I am laughing in the theater, like, that is just such a dumb scene. I mean, I compared this actually a little bit closer to the latest Jurassic World in terms of just dumb, just like so many dumb things. But yeah, anyway, yeah, I think anyway, Sean, you kind of hit what I was trying to get at in terms of the human element, and just it not being there for me at all. So, yeah.
Well, so also there's a little bit of kind of, and this kind of plays into maybe like thematically. Not that I necessarily think it needs has to have some sort of monumental message, but like there's just constantly like kind of are because Ken Watanabe's like, no, these are not monsters, they're animals. It's like, okay, so he's like, respect them like animals, they're part of the natural world, but they're also titans and they're here to protect the natural world, and they somehow have a semblance of like royalty. Like, yeah, so okay. are they you know, it's like there's this dissonance that doesn't really make sense. Like, are these animals? Then they're just to be treated like, well, like, yeah, they're not evil per se, but they're just animals. Animals aren't evil. A lion kills things to eat because that's what it does. These monsters, they got to survive. This is what they do. But then they're constantly going, no, they're protectors. Like, so then they're not animals. They're not just animal. Like, what is it? What are these things?
Yeah, I had a big problem with that too. I'm glad you brought it.
Sweet middle ground.
What's that?
What?
I think it's supposed to be like a sweet middle ground, really. I think it's supposed to be like they have them in the pack mentality of like wolves, right? Like the alpha, the omega, which is at the end Godzilla and Mothra, right? But at the same
Mothra
time,
dead at the end?
What?
Mothra is never dead. Mothra, I looked this up afterwards. Mothra like represents the cycle of life, death, rebirth, or whatever. So she's never dead. Plus, I actually think during the credits, there's a newspaper that says they think they found another Mothra egg. But
well, regardless, okay.
Mothra... And then so that represents like the animal side of things, but at the same time, they represent that, or they kind of present that like Godzilla and Mothra kind of have like a further. Not like, obviously it's not like they're like, we're going to protect the humans or anything like that, but it's more of like they have an understanding of, hey, you know, you leave us alone, we'll leave you alone, so on and so forth, until another threat to my rule or, you know, as Alpha comes, which was King Ghidorah. So,
I mean, you said some words. I'll accept them.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of, because they were treating them like animals, like they were species, but there's one member of each species. I don't like that part. I don't know. I try not to get too hung up on the logistics.
I mean,
that's not going to do.
I don't want to become. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to become that guy. But I am curious. Do you think that these were like? So they talk about how they've been around for millennia, and the ancient peoples used to. Do you think it's the same Godzilla?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this Godzilla, like, he goes into hibernation or whatever.
I mean, they flat out say like they basically can't die at all, right?
Well, they do die. They kill each other.
Yeah, but they can only die by each other, I guess.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Well, okay.
Well,
I'm not saying that's bad or good. I wasn't sure if like we were supposed to get that like, you know, this isn't the actual same Godzilla that they painted on walls. This is just the offspring of that species. But
right.
But they never really. It's never clear. But that's fine. And then I had another thought. Oh yeah. So Ken Watanabe, and then just in general, I guess some characters are just like, we have to respect them and we have to live together with them. And I'm totally like, I'm like Kyle Chandler's like, no, what are you talking about? We have to kill him. Like, there's no way we could live. How do you live together with something like that?
Well, okay. I potentially, I mean, we I think it's proven that we can't fight them, I guess, and we'll lose.
I guess what I'm saying is like, what does Ken Watanabe want?
I think he realizes that by provoking them, you're only bringing them to the surface, right? Because normally Godzilla is just chilling so far underwater that it's almost unnoticeable, right? And in the first Godzilla that started this universe, it was mankind's kind of obsession with nuclear waste, or right?
I mean,
that
that's what the whole
up
thing
the
is
Mutos.
originally.
So I think the idea is if we just improve ourselves and we let them be, we don't aggravate them, they'll leave us alone. But if we make it our job to try to seek and destroy them, they will wreck us.
Okay, so here you touched on probably one of my biggest confusions of the film. Okay, what does it mean for them to protect our planet, and what does it mean for us to leave them alone? So Godzilla only arose to the surface in the first one to fight the bad guy, right? To fight the bad monster.
Because it was a threat to his rule.
Correct. Okay, and then, but in this one, Ken's all about, we need to live in harmony. Well, according to the rules established, they are going to chill in hibernation until something makes them unchill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So then,
all right,
they say the eco-terrorist or Vera is all about like, oh, they need to restore balance to the world or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is to indicate that, oh, if we've messed up the Earth, I think one of you guys said something along these lines, then they're gonna come and restore balance, and as long as we don't, as humans, mess things up, they're gonna stay in check. So, does that mean that after the end of this film, and Godzilla is like, yeah, I'm the boss, and everyone else is like, all right, cool, but guess what? All the humans have effed up the planet. Let's go continue destroying things? I'm a little confused on what is balance in this world.
Well, I think because Godzilla was already... I don't know if this answers your question, actually. But I think because Godzilla was already the ruler, we can insinuate that he was the one that kind of put them to rest in the first place, right? He was just kind of like, hey, everybody, let's just chill. And so, I mean, it's likely to be believed that he would essentially just restore things to how they were. I don't know. But that doesn't answer your question at all. So...
I mean, it's not that important, really. Like, it's not so much about like nitpicking plot holes. To me, it's more about like these characters and what is like the story. To me, the story is going to be more important than the plot, and these are elements that the story even gets muddled with. Like,
yeah, I guess you're right.
What's actually like, what's the monster's motivation?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like, I just don't get what are the basic building blocks of rules. Just to, like, and it can be a kind of a hodgepodge after that. Well, it is anyway, I guess. But as long as I understand why my monsters are doing what they're doing, then okay, that's good. I can live with that. But
so let's theoretically say at the end of this film, so Godzilla has been restored as the king, and all the monsters bow to him. Because this one's saying monsters bow. It's funny, but whatever.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna blow up Rodan.
But then why? No, he bowed to him.
I know, but he was giving him like the stink eye. Like, oh man, you.
Godzilla has one face, stink eye.
Okay, so are they gonna go back into hibernation because he's the king?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
That's what I was just proposing.
Right,
yeah.
right. Which
okay.
All right.
They destroyed, like, I don't know. I mean, I kind of get, though, why, like, they destroyed, what was it, 17 of the biggest cities in the world? I don't, like, well, they restored the world to balance, everyone. Yeah, but there's, like, 4 billion people. World to balance. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's fine. It's fine. But that, yeah, also goes into the whole Vera from Myga, like, I guess we're supposed to know that she's like crazy, but like, I don't know what's her plan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand her.
Her plan was originally release a couple of them one at a time to kind of just raise the Earth, and then let the people that can get the shelters. So it's not like genocide of the entire human race, but it culls the numbers. But then they release Ghidorah, and Ghidorah becomes the alpha, and because he's an alien and evil, he's just like, I want everything dead. This is my planet. And so he raises everybody at once, in which he was like, this isn't the plan. This isn't the plan. And then the guy you say is from Game of Thrones, I wouldn't know, I never watched it. He's like, what do you think was going to happen? This is best case scenario, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, I actually liked his character more because he's just like, yeah, you idiot, what did you think? That was the whole plan.
Yeah.
We're going to kill people.
I at least understood him.
Yeah, actually, another thing I actually legitimately did like is that you kind of forget about him. Like, he's not really the bad guy really is Ghidorah, and it's the monster. And instead of just like this, forced human bad guy that we're supposed to, like, he's the real bad guy. Like, he just goes away. He doesn't die at the end. You never even see what happens to him until the post-credit scene. But even that is, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just glad it wasn't like a Jurassic Park or Fallen Kingdom where, like, big businessman, evil, we got to stomp on him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, but it felt to me more like the movie forgot about him. Like, oh, shoot. He's in this movie.
I don't know, maybe. Maybe it was just so unexpected that just the pure, like, oh yeah, I forgot about him too. All right. Because if it didn't have that post-credit scene, I would have.
Yeah, exactly. When he returns at the end, you're like, oh, that's right. Look at you still in this movie.
Yeah, good job. I guess I was just like, normally you would be dead. Either they forgot to write your scene where you died, or you're pretty cool. And by cool, I mean, evil, but, Also, in the post-credit scene, was that supposed to be one of the heads of Ghidorah?
Yeah, that was the one that Godzilla ripped off in the water.
Okay,
they said it like washed up or something.
Are they going to make a mecha? I was expecting to see Mecha Godzilla or something.
I assume they're making a Mecha Ghidorah.
Yeah,
Mecha Ghidorah. And I was actually expecting to see King Kong show up. I thought King Kong was going to be like the third act. Or no, I thought he was going to show up in the final fight. They had a whole movie of him, and then they hinted
that's because the next movie is literally called like Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah, I suppose, but I wanted to see him in this one.
You'll see whatever change they make to him to make any fight between these two creatures make sense.
Yeah, it feels like there's no way he
right. Yeah, it doesn't. But I mean, the next film is just going to be them fighting for a little bit, and then a third threat shows up, and they team up against it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be the superhero story, right? You can't have a victor between the two,
right?
Yeah. And then at the end, though, they're gonna race.
So one thing a friend of mine kind of joked about that was hilarious, or I found hilarious, was so in this movie, it's very much implied that Godzilla has like extreme resistance to concussive blasts, right? Like when Ken Watanabe blows that atomic blast, we understand that he absorbs atomic radiation, but he also absorbs like the blast itself, like it does nothing to him. So the only way to actually hurt Godzilla would have to be some piercing method. So we were joking about like King Kong having brass knuckles with like spikes on them to fight Godzilla. Giant. Like,
I would do it.
Or put like trees between his fingers. Like sharpened trees, like sticks.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
What about? I think you just got to get inside Godzilla. You just go up inside of him.
One detail that I mean it's super minor, but I always found interesting was you guys notice like his spikes on his back are constantly breaking during the movie and then growing back in like different manners.
I did notice they look different from scene to scene, but I was like, well, I don't remember them in detail enough to know if they actually are different, but they seem different.
Yeah, they would break in fights and stuff, and then I thought that was.
I guess that's cool.
Battle damage.
Realistic battle damage. All right. Well, is there anything, Chris, that you loved about it, or that you liked that we didn't get we didn't let you gush enough about?
I mean, just all the freaking shots. There's so many shots. I just want as like wallpapers. Like all those sweet shots of Ghidorah in the fog with the lightning coming down. Yeah. My house. Wallpaper my house. Be it. I like a lot. I mean the shot of Mothra coming out of the cocoon, right? That was friggin' awe-inspiring. Oh,
Yeah.
one thing we didn't talk about. So one thing I caught that I didn't really remember from the first one was the soundtrack. I thought the soundtrack in this movie was really awesome, and it fit like that kind of elevated godlyhood or whatever that they were trying to convey versus the other one, right? Like, these are gods. And so I thought the soundtrack that they crafted, Bear McCreary, who has done a lot of things, including the most recent God of War, I would actually catch during the fights the music, and it would just elevate the scene that much more. And I remember that really stood out to me, so much so that I went home and I actually bought some of the songs. But yeah, I thought the music was really good too.
Yeah, I can't say I disliked any of the music. I thought it was fine. I honestly, I'm just trying to think of like if there's anything that I could remember that stood out in terms of like any recurring themes or anything. But yeah, I mean, I think it definitely fit the kind of scale that they're going for. But sure, music good.
What else? Let's see. I found it funny. Who is the West Wing guy? What's his name?
Bradley Whitford.
Yeah, that guy. When he made the joke about having kids, but he says it with his entire head being white, I thought that was pretty funny. He was like, dude, you can't have kids. Too old.
I guess.
I don't know. I thought that in my mind.
Well, you could have kids.
Yeah.
Men could have kids pretty old.
Yeah.
It just made me think of Chernobyl, which I was watching as I was watching this film. I mean, not at the same time.
As you're watching. You just had it up on your phone.
Yeah.
As your chair is
radiation.
punching you in your back.
Yeah. Wind is getting blown away. Seriously, it was like almost a joke. Like I could see like I can't think of a specific thing, but just inundated with just like stop it, what is happening? I'm just trying to watch a movie.
What about the? I mean, was it constant? Like, what about the talking scenes?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, the talking scenes, no, but there would be occasionally, like, if there was a talking scene that had some significant camera movement, it would have a subtle, like, not drastic, like, not jarring, but the seat would kind of move, or, like, maybe sometimes if there would be, like, an insert, like a close-up, or, like, I think there's a couple times when they're looking at the Orca, the Sega Saturn device, the, do whatever it wants to do for the plot beat that we needed to do it for.
Correct.
Device. So they would like pan over a ridge or they zoom in on it. The seats would kind of like gradually like lift up and like push forward and stuff. So there would be some subtle things, but in general, no, it was obviously primarily the action scenes, the big stuff was, but it was just kind of like, it was kind of funny to think about like the soldiers are shooting and I'm getting like in the back of my neck on the chair, but it's like, wait, are they shooting me?
You got shot.
Am
Sean.
I supposed to be that character
that
I'm watching right now?
You're a character in the movie and you're dead now.
But I'm not like, it's not a first person perspective in the movie, so it's just like, or am I shooting the gun? And that's just like the feeling you get when you shoot. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways. 40 experiences.
Did anyone notice? Well, this I found this also a little funny. Is so Godzilla's supposed to be the king of the monsters, right? But
he's supposed
to be.
But
did you notice in the 2014 one and in every fight in this one, the only time he ever wins is essentially as a ringer, right? Like when humans or somebody else is helping out, he never actually wins by himself. He's got like that ringer status.
Does he not win in? You mean because like Mothra helps him in this one?
Mothra, the humans, right? Like I think actually both the 2014 and this one, he only wins because the humans distract the main monster, bad monster, long enough for Godzilla to get back up. He's got like Rocky syndrome. He gets beat on, but he gets back up every time if you can buy him enough time.
I get. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about it. I suppose. Well, it'd be boring. Well,
I mean, you gotta throw the humans a bone. I mean, we're kind of worthless. We don't really deserve to be in these movies, if we're being honest.
Yeah. What was that mammoth creature? Are there names for all of those creatures?
I think most of them, yeah.
Are they from movie? Like, I guess another thing too is that like I have no real emotional attachment to Godzilla or we never grew up watching Godzilla movies, at least not that I remember. So I don't have like a nostalgic fondness for them or anything. And I know a lot of people do. So I think I have some friends who do like the movie, and I think they have a fondness for those, the old 50s and 60s monster movies more so. So maybe there's an element there that I just am like not, it's not good or bad. That's fine. Like, but I just don't have that. So there's an element I'm just never going to appreciate on the same level.
I think that one, the ape-like one, I think they're calling that one Behemoth.
King Kong? What?
No, you're talking about the one that had like the tusks and everything.
Yeah, wasn't that like a man? I thought it was
like a mammoth
type thing.
Well, it's like a cross between like a gorilla and a woolly mammoth or whatever.
Oh, you're right. It did have elbows. Yeah. Now that you mention it,
that one's apparently called Behemoth.
Okay.
Right. Well, there's going to be 17 of them, or I guess 15 of them in the new movie. And they're all going to pick teams. King Kong and Godzilla are going to line them up, and they go, you're on my team, and you're on my team.
King Kong's screwed.
Whoever wins, we die or lose. I don't know.
It's a good tagline.
All right. Well, any other final thoughts on Godzilla, King of the Monsters?
I like it. I recommend it. Everybody should watch it on the biggest screen they can find.
Yeah, I could say, like, if you think it's something you enjoy, you will enjoy it more on the big screen. But based on our discussion, if you don't think you'll enjoy it,
then watch it on Netflix.
I don't think it'll matter too much. Unless you go in 4D. I don't know why it's 4D.
In which case you might actually hate it.
Time. Yeah, and then you might get sick and spill beer all over yourself because it doesn't make any sense. There's cup holders on the seats, and I just sat down and we're just like, and there's other people kind of in the seats next to me too, and we're just like, and then like it starts going because before the movie starts, there's like a little demo sequence, like you're in 4D, and it's just like this generic action scene of like a car chase of a guy and a girl, whatever. But it does all the 4D, and it's just like, oh my god, what's happening? And they're just like, all of us in the seats were like, what is happening right now?
It sounds like you're describing the Schlang Super Seat by Cinco.
Yep, that's it.
Keep your hands safe of that butter dispenser.
That's right. You got to be careful.
And I was too afraid to like pick up my drink because like I was gonna drink it, but then it just like splash in my face. It was a nightmare. Anyways, cool. All right, well there you go, everyone. Let us know what you thought of Godzilla King of the Monsters. Did you enjoy it? Was the action worth it for you? Was it better than Godzilla 2014 or Godzilla 1998? It was better than that, at least in my opinion. It was at least better than Godzilla 1998.
Yeah.
I really don't like that movie, though. Anyways, cool. So that about wraps up our discussion. But guess what, everyone? We got another email.
How do they keep finding us?
I don't know. We try our best to not have people email us by being, I don't know, boring? No, I don't know. But this is our 4th email, so we're one away from our 5th email milestone. So everyone, we're one away. You could be that 5th. You could be that 5th for this crazy prize or event or thing that's going to happen. Anyways, so this email is from Brian Redloff. Brian Redloff, friend of mine. I've guessed on his podcast a couple times, Marvel Star Wars Explorers. But he writes, fulfill your promises. That is the subject. Greetings, Chunkarinos. That's us. We're Chunkarinos, guys. Cool.
I don't like that.
take it. I like to be a chunkerino. Long-time listener, first-time emailer. I was recently listening to your Detective Pikachu episode when you read a couple of emails from my pals, and I got a severe case of FOMO. I don't deal with FOMO well. First, Sean, thank you for plugging my podcast, Marvel Star Wars Explorers, the podcast that explores every issue of original Marvel Star Wars comics run from the 70s and 80s on your podcast. You're too kind and an always welcome guest on the show. I really don't have much to say. I just wanted to be one of your top 5 emailers, fingers crossed. But since I think I have a unique take of that Sonic trailer, I suppose I will share. As a Nintendo supremacist with no emotional attachment to Sonic, or any Sega property, my initial reaction to the Sonic trailer was one of surprised amusement and mild joy. Having no prior knowledge of the film's production history, you can only imagine what an utter thrill it was to see the one and only Jim Carrey appear as Dr. Robotnik. Oh my god, what? Look at this wacky guy acting like he did in the 90s. Yes, please. That's what I need in my life. I don't even care if it's half-hearted. Watching this trailer, I can only be reminded of another film that I have a genuine love for, Looney Tunes Back in Action. This trailer has serious LTBIA vibes. Also, I guess it kind of does. It's been a while since I've seen some Brendan Fraser messing with those Looney Tunes. But anyways, also, he continues, right? I cannot believe they are actually going to spend the money to change Sonic's look. What an incredible waste of resources. I don't care what he looks like. Looks fine to me. This is not going to make a better film. If you're going to spend that time and money, do something useful, like write a better script and do reshoots. In parentheses, I mean, that is if it's not already an action comedy masterwork. Anyway, it could be a fun movie. I hope it is. But also, it probably won't be. In regards to Game of Thrones Season 8, hashtag I'm with Sean. Yes. Take that, Vince. And everyone else in the world, apparently. On to the real reason I'm emailing. Please fulfill your promise of sending Blu-ray sets of The Legend of Korra to all of your first 5 emailers. I've been dying to watch it for the very first time, but its lack of streaming on anything is such a barrier. I can't wait for my Blu-ray set from you guys to arrive. Hopefully I'm in the top 5. So excited, and fingers crossed I'm in the top 5.
Wait, did
So
we
cool
promise
of you
you
guys-
to the top 5? Or just, what?
So cool of you guys to do this. You're the best.
I thought we only promised it to the 5th one, like a radio caller. We promised it to all
We
5?
didn't promise to anyone, Chris. Don't believe Gondor's lies. Once again, thank you for plugging my podcast, Marvel Star Wars Explorers, the podcast that explores every issue of the original Marvel Star Wars comics from the 70s, 80s, on your show. The door is always well open to any of you fine gents that would be into talking about a single issue of a 30-year-old comic for 2 hours. I promise it's fun, and we do it every week. Keep up the fine work, and I look forward to receiving my Legend of Korra Blu-ray box set from you guys. Love, Brian, in parentheses, co-host and best friend of Marvel Star Wars Explorers. Well, thank you, Brian, for that incredible email. Even if it wasn't in the top 5, which it is, it would be, it deserves to be eligible for prizes on its own. But thankfully, it is in the top 5, so it is eligible for whatever prize we all know of and just have yet to say on air. Apparently, it might be a Legend of Korra Blu-ray box set. But it probably don't expect that, though, because we're probably going to do something better.
An autographed headshot of Sean Davis.
There you go. That's priceless. But yes, we will announce what that is for the first 5 emailers. And by the way, just a small adjoinder to the rule: if you have already emailed, you do not qualify if you send another email. So if Lee, Eric, Sam, or Brian sends another email, that will not count towards the 5th. We need 5 unique emailers. Just saying that now. So all you other listeners out there who have yet to send us a word, now's your chance. Only 1 spot left for a fabulous prize. But yes, thank you, Brian. Your podcast is cool. People should check that out. And what else? Oh, the Sonic trailer. I agree. I do think it is kind of silly that they're redesigning and delaying the movie now and redesigning. Like, I think I said on the podcast, just stick with it. Just like, if it's crappy design and he looks ugly. I mean, that's the movie you made. Do it. Like, what? You can't just, like, I don't know, focus test everything ad nauseum.
Gamers are shallow, man. They only care about what it looks like.
Well, I mean, that's a good question. Did they focus test? I wasn't on that podcast that you guys talked about that, but
did they focus test?
I don't know if they focus tested, but it was just all the outcry from the trailer.
Right, release. But it feels like they should have focus tested it, right? I don't know.
Well, maybe. I mean, that's the other thing, too, is I even speculated that maybe they did focus test it, but they were focus testing people who had, were not gamers, who were just like random people who don't know who Sonic is. And they're like, yeah, it's fine. He looks like a cool, crazy, wacky, funny hedgehog thing. And he's really fast. So they're like, oh, yeah, okay, good. People are going to go see it. It doesn't need the gaming audience. And then they release it, and then everyone, like, all the gamers go, he looks ugly. I'm like, oh, no. Like, I don't know if that's happened, but I'm just saying that, like, if you constantly are just trying to please everyone, you're going to please no one. Just do something. Make something. Make it, and do it. And that's pretty,
do it.
I mean, to me, it seems
suppose.
like it's like the it's studio people who don't actually understand their IP.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I definitely think that is an aspect of it for sure. But unfortunately, just all this redesign stuff, all it does is it just makes the lives of all those animators and everyone worse because now, like, they're the ones who have to pay for this. Like,
well, hold on. I mean, why does it make their lives worse? They get paid to animate.
Well, but but it's not like I just mean it puts them in crunch for 6 more months. Like, now they're going to be working 90-hour weeks again for 6 more months.
I wonder, having never worked in the movie business nor being an animator, because, I mean, obviously once they animate the movie, they're let go and they just move on to the next project, right? I do wonder how different this actually is from the normal process.
Yeah, like, I can't imagine it's any... I mean, they're getting paid for their work. Yes, if it's crunch and it's crazy work hours, then that's not great. But, I don't know, they can go work on Detective Pikachu 2 and be under the same stress.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, yeah, it's not that they're not getting paid, but it just creates and creates an environment. It's part of the I think as industry in the whole, and this is true for the gaming industry, where it's a churn and burn mentality, where, like, if you're not willing to work 90 hours and not take overtime pay, we could find someone who does, so you're fired. Like, right? Like,
yeah.
It's bad for everyone. Like, it's bad for everyone except for a few executives who get more money.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying I know this is how it works, but just the basic trends and basically what I do know or have articles I've read and stories I've heard, that's kind of how it is in the gaming industry and in the film industry, especially for the effects artists.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is definitely in the engineering industry, at least at my job. And it's a cultural thing, I think. That
for sure.
It's like, there's plenty of hardworking people out there who will give the job to someone who's willing to be treated unfairly if you aren't.
And that just kind of is a bummer because it's not their fault that this it wasn't the animator's fault that that's how Sonic looked. It was, but they did what they were told and they did it, or whatever. Right. And now they're getting punished. Well, you might punish is an extreme word, but essentially they're the ones who are having to pay for the mistakes of others, I guess is what I'm saying. Regardless, that's so much is just built up in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
That's true.
Anyways, but that about wraps it up for us. Like I said, if you do have anything you want to shout out to us, opinions, thoughts on anything we've discussed, let us know about it. Email us at yumchucks@gmail.com, or feel free to leave comments on any of the many forms of media that you could listen to us on: YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Podcast, Spotify, wherever, everywhere. And I don't know, do all the liking things and subscribing things and send us money on our Patreon. We don't have a Patreon, but I don't know, donate to charity instead or something. But unless you guys have anything else,
I got nothing else for you.
Chris?
I am empty.
Thanks for staying after the credits with us, and we'll catch you when we talk about the next thing. It's probably going to be X-Men Dark Phoenix. Bye!
This has been
After the credits.
a Young Chunks podcast.